Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy is a 2023 action role-playing game developed by Avalanche Software and published by Warner Bros. Games under its Portkey Games label. The game is set in the Wizarding World universe, taking place in the late 1800s, a century before the events of the Harry Potter novels. The player controls a student at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry who learns to wield different magical abilities and objects, aided by other students and professors, and is involved in uncovering an ancient secret of the Wizarding World. Hogwarts Legacy is Avalanche's first release since their acquisition by Warner Bros. In 2017. Development began in 2018, while pre-release gameplay footage was leaked onto the internet in the same year. Officially announced in 2020, the game was highly anticipated. Before release, it attracted controversy due to Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling's views on transgender people and accusations of including anti-Semitic tropes, leading to calls for a boycott. Following some delays, it was released on the 10th of February 2023 for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series X. It is scheduled for release on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch later in 2023. The early access of the game led to record-breaking concurrent viewers on streaming platform Twitch, making Hogwarts Legacy the most-watched single-player game of all time. Within 2 weeks after its launch, the game sold more than 12 million copies, generated $850 million in global sales revenue, and accumulated over 280 million hours played globally, breaking company records for Warner Bros. Games. Hogwarts Legacy received generally favorable reviews from critics, with praise for its combat, world design, characters, and faithfulness to the source material, and criticism for its technical problems and failure to innovate as an open-world game. Gameplay. Hogwarts Legacy is an action role-playing game, played in a third-person perspective. It is set in Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and its surrounding areas, influenced by the Wizarding World franchise. The player can explore familiar locations such as Hogsmeade and the Forbidden Forest. One of the main elements for the player is to attend classes. Each of the 4 known Hogwarts houses, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw and Slytherin, also offers a unique common room. These rooms are only accessible for the player's current house chosen by the Sorting Hat. Accompanied by the choice of house, the player receives different exclusive quests. Progressing through the game sees the interior and exterior of the castle change visually to match the seasons. The game also features changing music based on the location of the player character, as they move through the open world, with notable differences within the specific common rooms that can only be accessed by players who choose each corresponding schoolhouse. During character creation, the player can choose their appearance, gender, and one of the 4 houses. Players may customize their character's voice and body type, and add accessories such as glasses in character creation. Level progression allows the player to access and upgrade different spells, talents, and abilities. Through in-game challenges, the player character gains experience points to gain levels. These challenges come in the form of combat, quests, exploration, and field guide pages. While house points for the 4 Hogwarts houses play a part in the game's plot, they are not influenced by player actions. The player character learns to cast various magical spells, brew potions and master combat abilities. As players progress, they develop their own special combat style. While attending classes does advance gameplay mechanics, such spell learnings are not a scheduled gameplay element in itself. Classes will be attended as part of plot development milestones. Player characters are also able to establish friendships with interactable non-player characters. As these relationships grow, schoolmates become companions who can accompany players on their journey, expand their abilities, and offer unique dialogue options as players learn their stories. The game features environmental customization elements. Players can modify the room of requirement as they level up through the game. The room can be entirely personalized, and its architecture changed. It is used to place and take care of utility items such as brewing stations and planting pots, which also can be customized. Some of the magical beasts of the game can be held in a chosen vivarium, a separate place where the player takes care of them. Players will be able to tame, care for, and ride different magical beasts, including hippogriffs and thestrals. Dragons, trolls, acromantulas, graphorns, mooncalves, foopers, neasels, and nifflers are other interactable magical creatures. Some creatures can be used in combat, such as mandrakes to stun enemies. Synopsis. Setting and characters. Hogwarts Legacy is set in the late 1800s, taking place in locations such as Hogwarts Castle, Hogsmeade and the Scottish Highlands. The game follows a student starting at Hogwarts as the protagonist in the 5th year. As the protagonist starts at the school later than other students, the Ministry of Magic provides a wizard field guide. Completing sections of this guide through exploration provides additional information and experience points. The player character, who holds the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the Wizarding World apart, is capable of manipulating a mysterious ancient magic, and will need to help uncover why this forgotten magic has suddenly made a resurgence in the ones that are simultaneously trying to harness it. The new character Professor Eleazar Fig acts as a mentor figure to the protagonist. Other new characters include Hogwarts students Amit Thacker, Everett Clopton, Professors Onai and Shaw, as well as Headmaster Phineas Nigellus Black and Professor Matilda Weasley. The protagonist is also able to build friendships with fellow students Nat Sion, Poppy Sweeting and Sebastian Sallow, who take part in the protagonist's journey as companion characters. Antagonists featured in the game include Ranrock, the leader of the Goblin Rebellion, and Victor Rookwood, the leader of a group of dark wizards. Plot. The protagonist receives a letter from Professor Weasley, containing the confirmation of attending Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as a fifth-year student, with Professor Fig assigned as the protagonist's mentor. Fig escorts the protagonist from London to Hogwarts via a flying coach. While discussing an unknown artifact, a dragon attacks them. When the dragon rips the coach apart, Fig and the protagonist reach for the key that was inside the artifact, revealed to be a portkey that teleports the duo to Gringotts. Using the key to enter an old vault, the protagonist learns they can see traces of ancient magic. The duo is confronted by a hostile goblin named Ranrock. Fig and the protagonist escape to Hogwarts, right as the sorting ceremony is about to end. The protagonist is sorted into one of the 4 houses and begins their term at Hogwarts. The protagonist learns various spells during classes, while also exploring Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, and outer regions with companions Sebastian Sallow, Poppy Sweeting, and Nat Sion. Meanwhile, Professor Fig is investigating the secrets of ancient magic, supported by the protagonist. They ultimately discover a secret room below Hogwarts known as the Map Chamber. The chamber contains 4 talking portraits of past Hogwarts professors who refer to themselves as Keepers, led by Percival Rackham. Their goal is to protect the secrets of ancient magic from the wizarding world. The protagonist learns that the 5th Keeper, Isadora Morganash, disagreed with the other 4 as to the use of ancient magic, leaving a repository of power that Ranrock is attempting to find, as he wishes for goblins to rise up against the wizarding world. A group of dark wizards, led by Keeper Charles Rookwood's descendant Victor, collaborates with Ranrock in exchange for a share of his power. In order to reveal the secrets of ancient magic, the protagonist must complete 4 trials left by the Keepers. Each trial features dangerous and complicated puzzles requiring the use of spells the protagonist has learned over the game, each trial leading to a pensieve, a magical device to store and review memories. Each pensieve reveals the history of ancient magic and its connection to Isadora Morganash. Isadora used ancient magic in an attempt to cure negative emotions, particularly from her suffering father. The Keepers realized that Isadora was inhaling the extracted emotions to increase her own power, using this practice on students, draining their emotions into a large repository of ancient magic. The Keepers attempted to persuade her against this but failed to do so. With no alternative in sight, one of the Keepers ultimately used the killing curse to eliminate Isadora. The Keepers decided to keep the repository a secret. As the protagonist completes all trials, they receive one final task: to create a special type of magic wand consisting of the artifacts found at the pensieves. Professor Fig sends the protagonist to Ollivander in order to craft the Keeper's wand. As the protagonist leaves Ollivander's, they are ambushed by Rookwood. Rookwood proposes an alliance against the goblins, but the protagonist refuses, resulting in a battle in which the protagonist manages to defeat Rookwood. Shortly after, Ranrock locates Isadora's repository and frees the ancient power, absorbing it to turn himself into a dragon. Fig is mortally wounded, and the protagonist battles the dragon, ending the Goblin Rebellion by destroying Ranrock, and must decide whether to maintain the Keeper's secret or reveal the existence of ancient magic by absorbing the power for themselves. Professors Black and Weasley hold a eulogy in honor of Fig. The protagonist returns to finish regular school studies, as the end of the school year is leading to the OWL exams. The journey ends with Professor Weasley awarding the protagonist 100 house points for the extraordinary adventure, which ultimately leads to a win of the House Cup for their respective house. Development. The game was developed by Avalanche Software, which was acquired by Warner Brothers. Interactive Entertainment from Disney in January 2017. In the same year, Warner Brothers established a new publishing label named Portkey Games, which was dedicated to managing the Wizarding World license. The Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling was not involved in development. 5 years in the making, experts estimate Hogwarts Legacy's budget at $150 million. Before any official announcement, gameplay footage leaked in 2018. Hogwarts Legacy was announced at a PlayStation 5 event in September 2020, with a planned release for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X in 2021. The game uses the Unreal Engine, its 4th generation in particular. It was delayed twice, first to 2022, and later to the 10th of February 2023. The primary voice cast for the game was announced on the 12th of January 2023. Its PS4 and Xbox One versions were also delayed twice from its February 2023 launch to May. A Nintendo Switch port is scheduled for release on the 25th of July 2023. Early access was made available to people who had pre-ordered the game's physical collector's edition or digital deluxe edition on console or PC on the 7th of February 2023. In terms of story development, narrative lead Moira Squire stated that it was important to pick a time period when no other heroes were around. This would make it possible to give the player their own complete world to experience in a setting similar to the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts eras. The writing team focused on creating a diverse collection of characters for players to potentially identify with them in a positive way. Boston Madsen, environmental lead for the creation of Hogwarts, emphasized the importance of creating environmental elements close to the source material of the Harry Potter books. Madsen stated that even though it's Avalanche Software's version of Hogwarts, it is made to be easily recognizable. Game director Aloud also added that they aim to go beyond the expected areas to let people discover new locations and undiscovered chambers. Artists Jeff Bunker and Vanessa Palmer explained that, during the game's development, they kept 5 specific tech pillars in mind: 4K graphics and visuals, 3D audio, activities and game help, and the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller, as well as fast loading times and activities. They referenced the usage of the Unreal Engine, the computing and rendering capabilities of the PlayStation 5, and the Niagara visual effects system to deliver visual effects for spells and magic. In terms of development connected to the PlayStation 5, Avalanche Software's team made use of the DualSense controller's adaptive triggers with haptic feedback to create an immersive and authentic combat experience. As well as combat, the haptic experience enhances flying and discovering ancient magic hotspots. To promote the game, a specifically designed DualSense controller, the Revelio controller, was released at the game's launch in the US and UK as a limited edition. Music. The soundtrack was composed by Peter Murray, J. Scott Riccozzi and Chuck Myers, including additional tracks by Alexander Horowitz. Myers stated that its development took almost 4 years to complete. Audio production coordinator Nathan Iwobi explained that while they drew inspiration from former Harry Potter-related work of composer John Williams, they focused on creating their own brand. In a behind-the-scenes video, composers Murray and Riccozzi commented on the creation of the Hogwarts Legacy soundtrack. They explained that the challenge of its creative process was to balance the original composition with the existing music of the Wizarding World films. One of the songs, Overture to the Unwritten, was released prior to the soundtrack. The song was performed by the Seven Springs Symphony Orchestra and Choir as a live capture of a 54-piece orchestra. In January 2023, the release of the soundtrack was announced to happen simultaneously with Hogwarts Legacy. It was released as 2 digital double albums totaling 75 tracks, Hogwarts Legacy and Hogwarts Legacy. The soundtrack was also released on vinyl, being mastered by James Plotkin and distributed by Mondo. Additional content. By joining the Harry Potter fan club and linking the WB Games account, players are able to receive free cosmetic items. PlayStation versions of the game include the Haunted Hogsmeade Shop as exclusive content and the recipe for the Felix Felicis potion as a pre-order exclusive. The former consists of an additional dungeon, cosmetic set and the feature of owning an in-game shop, while the latter allows the player to reveal gear chests on the map. Accompanied by the launch of Hogwarts Legacy, the Dark Arts Pack was released as either a part of the deluxe and collector's editions or as downloadable content for users of the regular edition. The DLC consists of an exclusive mount, a clothing set and a new battle arena location. The Dark Arts Battle Arena expands the 2 available battle arenas available in the base game. Since the early access release on the 7th of February 2023 up until the 24th of February 2023, players are able to receive 5 free cosmetic items exclusively through Twitch drops. In February 2023, shortly after the release, game director Alan Tu stated that the team focused on the launch only and did not plan to release additional content yet. Reception. Critical response. According to review aggregator Metacritic, Hogwarts Legacy received generally favorable reviews for the PC and PlayStation 5 versions, based on 19 reviews for the former and 86 reviews for the latter. For the Xbox Series X version, the game received universal acclaim, based on 16 reviews. The environments and visuals were lauded by critics, with the majority of praise for the recreation of Hogwarts Castle. Games Radar Plus complimented the world as being faithful to the existing Wizarding World lore, and Destructoid lauded the overall presentation and positive synergy with the universe. Other reviewers echoed these points, with NME writing that the world was probably the best representation for fans. Further praise was directed at the castle's level of detail. Push Square highlighted the level of atmosphere and visual presentation, finding it made aimless activities like walking around Hogwarts enjoyable. The surrounding areas set in the Scottish Highlands received similar plaudits, though some thought that other areas were not as engaging. The gameplay elements received varying reviews. PC Gamer praised Legacy's simple but harmonious systems, such as its take on wizard duels and building a personalized living space in the Room of Requirement. Eurogamer Germany lauded the attention to detail in motivating the player to explore the world. They highlighted the atmospheric music, and were impressed by the design of some of the game's quests and puzzles. Destructoid complimented the range of activities and unlockables, but found the game unremarkable overall and contributing to the experience being wrapped in a flawed open-world shell. NME similarly wrote that the game design felt dated, attributing this to its long development cycle. The Guardian criticized the experience as competent but unspectacular, while praising the presentation as enchanting. They felt that progression made the game feel more derivative of other open-world examples. Game Revolution described Legacy as fun but forgettable Harry Potter fan service, writing that features such as attending classes and creating potions lacked sufficient depth. The combat was generally praised. PC Games N called it the game's strongest aspect. The AV Club deemed it as the most interesting feature, calling the more challenging fights legitimately thrilling. GameSpot described the combat and spells as giving a great sense of power for the player, though criticized the spell selecting controls and the uninteresting enemy design. Game Informer similarly lamented the enemies for lacking in variety. The game's narrative divided critics. Some praised the developers' handling of the narrative to tell an original story while in a setting that felt overly familiar. Windows Central and Screen Rant deemed the story engaging, while the writing of the more detailed side quests were positively highlighted by Video Games Chronicle as sitting comfortably with the best of the series. Hardcore Gamer praised the story as gripping, but felt it faltered towards the end. PCMag described the decision to have the protagonist act out a chosen one role as silly. Other reviewers expressed overall criticism of the narrative, finding it to be lackluster and at times illogical. The characters were mostly well received. Windows Central described them as interesting and adding depth to the world. CNET complimented them as being richly written, and positively remarked upon their ethnic diversity, the latter sentiment echoed by PCMag. IGN praised the companions for their characterization and roles. The cast performances received similar compliments. PCMag wrote that their quality made conversations feel natural. Conversely, Video Games Chronicle criticized certain NPCs outside of Hogwarts for appearing lifeless. Hardcore Gamer wrote the protagonist rivals, Ranrock and Rookwood, failed as compelling antagonists and felt disappointing compared to other established Harry Potter villains. Reviewers were critical of Legacy's technical aspects. PC Gamer experienced brief but frequent pauses at doors, as well as framerate drops during uneventful moments. Eurogamer Germany noted shading issues and stiff facial expressions on character models, and CNET thought that their eye movements occasionally felt unnatural. Many noted a number of technical issues in the game affecting performance, including slow loading of textures, framerate inconsistencies, visual glitches, clipping objects and inconsistent lighting. GameStar reported performance problems overall while reviewing the PC version, especially in areas with many NPCs, but noticed the game's first patch alleviated some of these issues. Sales. Overall, experts estimated the game to sell at least 10 million copies, while also speculating that Hogwarts Legacy will be an opportunity to rebrand the franchise. On the 23rd of February 2023, Warner Bros. Discovery announced that the game has sold more than 12 million copies in its first 2 weeks, generating $850 million in global sales. In Europe, Hogwarts Legacy's launch sales placed it as the 6th biggest launch for a video game since the creation of the European monthly charts. In the UK, the game became the biggest launch of any Harry Potter video game, topping the box chart in its debut week. Analysts compared the first week sales to Elden Ring, noting that physical and digital sales are up by 80% and 88%. It remained at the top of the UK physical charts for 2 additional weeks. In Japan, Hogwarts Legacy debuted atop the software sales chart, with the PlayStation 5 version selling 67,196 physical copies. The game remained 1 additional week at the top spot and, as of the 26th of February 2023, accumulated a total of 126,086 physical copies sold. Due to Steam's rules on separating pre-orders and official releases, Hogwarts Legacy occupied the first 4 spots on the platform's sales chart at some point during its first week of release. On PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, Hogwarts Legacy placed atop of the console's sales charts before its official launch. The PlayStation 5 version of Hogwarts Legacy was the second best-selling retail game during its first week of release in Japan, with 67,196 physical copies being sold across the country. As of the 22nd of February 2023, Hogwarts Legacy had been played for a collected amount of 267 million hours. Shortly after, the game broke company records for Warner Bros. Games by reaching 280 million hours played. In further regards to player engagement, Hogwarts Legacy reached a peak of over 489,000 concurrent players on Steam during its early access, becoming the second highest player count peak for any single-player game, behind only Cyberpunk 2077. After its release, the game almost doubled its concurrent player record during release weekend, peaking at over 879,000 players. The game has the 8th highest concurrent player peak ever. Accolades. The game made several lists of the most anticipated games of 2023. CNET, CNN, Den of Geek, GameSpot, IGN, PC Games, NPR, Polygon, Time, VentureBeat, and VG247. Hogwarts Legacy was nominated for Most Anticipated Game at the Game Awards 2022 and for Most Wanted Game at the Golden Joystick Awards 2022, but both times lost to The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Controversies. Opposition to J.K. Rowling. Hogwarts Legacy became a subject of contention in response to Rowling's controversial views on transgender people. Many in opposition to Rowling called for a boycott of the game as a means of showing solidarity with the transgender community, and to impede the financial benefits she would receive from its release. Others, including some within the LGBT community, felt that Hogwarts Legacy could be separated from the views of its universe's creator. On behalf of Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and in light of the controversy, President David Haddad stated that Rowling has the right to hold her personal viewpoint. As a result of the controversy, some publications chose not to cover or review Hogwarts Legacy, and the online forum Reset Era banned discussion of it. In response to the controversy, Wired reviewed the game but gave it the lowest possible score on political grounds, stating that it was mediocre and harmful. The review received criticism for being based on subjective political grounds. Several weeks before the game's launch, the actor Sebastian Croft, who voices a character in the game, distanced himself from Rowling's views. Writing for GameSpot, the transgender YouTuber Jessie Earl wrote that those on each side of the debate should come to their own conclusions. While she felt it was not wrong to want to play Hogwarts Legacy, those who did should not claim to be supportive of the trans community. Avalanche and Warner Bros. Denied Rowling's involvement in the game's development. The team also introduced a trans-inclusive character creator and the franchise's first transgender character, Serona Ryan. Responding to the controversy, the studio added that the development focused on creating a rich and diverse world which would represent all groups of people. Ryan's inclusion was dismissed by some as insincere, while those involved in development allegedly stated that the character added nothing substantial and was solely created to avert criticism. Accusations of anti-Semitism. Following the release of the first gameplay trailer in March 2022, the game received criticism for basing it in the Goblin Rebellion era of Wizarding World history, with the game's storyline focusing on the player suppressing a Goblin rebellion. The Wizarding World lore surrounding goblins has previously been accused of being based on anti-Semitic tropes. The criticism stemmed from the belief that the game's core message was that the minority goblin group should be considered the enemy for rebelling against their oppressor and fighting for freedom and equal rights. According to the Mary Sue, the central plotline was compared by some social media users to the anti-Semitic blood libel myth, in which Jews were accused of using the blood of Christian children in rituals, though they admitted this may simply be a coincidence. However, the portrayal of goblins in both the game and the larger Harry Potter universe has been defended by some, including the non-governmental organization Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which released a statement saying that the portrayal of the goblins in the Harry Potter series is of a piece with their portrayal in Western literature as a whole and is a testament more to centuries of Christendom's anti-Semitism than it is to malice by contemporary artists. So it is with J.K. Rowling, who has proven herself over recent years to be a tireless defender of the Jewish community. Travis Northup, writing for IGN in an exchange with the Times of Israel, disagreed that the game involved anti-Semitic tropes, stating, "The story does not depict a cabal of bank-controlling goblins trying to take over the world. It's about one particular goblin rebelling against the Wizarding World's insistence on keeping magic out of the hands of their kind." Comedian and political commentator Jon Stewart, who was previously reported by several media to have made the same accusations, retorted the next day that he was misrepresented and that he did not think the goblin's portrayal in Harry Potter or J.K. Rowling herself were anti-Semitic. He added that such tropes were so embedded in society that they're basically invisible. Harassment of streamers. Prior to the game's release, a page was set up specifically targeting Twitch streamers who played Hogwarts Legacy. The web tool filtered accounts streaming the game, leading to the harassment of some. The page was taken down shortly after. Following Hogwarts Legacy's early access release on the 7th of February 2023, some content creators and streamers were criticized and harassed by others opposed to Rowling's views for promoting and broadcasting the game. Some streamers ultimately decided to not stream the game at all, with Polygon noting that it occurred either in favor of ongoing protests or for fear of harassment. Despite the efforts to boycott the game, its viewership on live streaming service Twitch peaked at a record-breaking 1.27 million concurrent viewers on the 7th of February. This made Hogwarts Legacy the most-watched single-player game of all time by peak viewers on the platform. Troy Levitt. In February 2021, a series of social media posts and videos published by Avalanche Software and Hogwarts Legacy lead designer Troy Levitt, which included expressing support for cultural appropriation and Gamergate, received widespread criticism. Following the controversy surrounding his social media activity, Levitt left Avalanche Software and the Hogwarts Legacy project. He said that this was unrelated to the controversy. Warner Bros. Declined to comment.